add fuel, like that to the stinking lamps, that like defile the whole house, with their filthy smoke, You can look at it as like a rough way, as an insult, but it's written by someone who's gender nonconforming. So look at it as more so as this angsty way to describe one's gender, which is very enlightening. Martha. Hello, this is Trans Radical Rationale, and I'm your host, MX Martha. So, this is continuation of the reading series of Hic Mulier, the Man-Woman, or Haer-vic, the Womanish-Man. Written in the 1620s, this pamphlet, by King James, a notorious bisexual and extravagant himself, the son of beheaded Mary Queen of Scots and the adoptive heir of Queen Elizabeth, who sanctioned Mary's execution, was phobic about powerful women and about women in men's clothes. In 1620, he instructed the Anglican clergy to inveigh vehemently in their sermons against wearing women's broad-brimmed hats, painted doublets, short hair, and even some of them poniards. And if pulpit admonitions fail, another course will be taken. In the same year, 1620, two pamphlets, Hic Mulier, or the Man-Woman, and in rebuttal, Haer-vic, or the Womanish-Man, debated the social, moral, and cultural valiances of cross-dressing. The author of Hic Mulier saw the fashion for men's clothes as a sign not of homosexuality, but of a genuine sexual availability. The cross-dressed woman's loose, lascivious civil embracement of a French doublet, being all unbuttoned to embrace, signified desirability and desire. In Hic-vic, the mannish woman gets to speak her piece and offers a strong assertion of women's rights, an assertion which is complicated rather than clarified by the fact that she offers this opinion, when cross-dressed as a man. Is to be free, is to be free and verbal, then necessary to be dressed like a man. Let's see. The controversy about cross-dress acting, did stage plays in which boys wore women's clothing violate Deuteronomy? Was this part of a continuing Puritan polemic about amorality of the stage? But it also tapped into larger cultural anxieties, of which the Hic Mulier pamphlets were a sign. Did clothes, in fact, make the man or woman? Was self-fashioning the forming of a self, that achievement so consistently claimed as one of the chief distinguishing features of the Renaissance, in fact, at the mercy of fashion of clothing? Okay, so I got that from Vested Interest, Cross-Dressing, and Cultural Anxieties, written by Marjorie Garber, and it's an anthology of pieces through film, through media, through artwork, through literature, all through time. It's the 1620s, and they've done movies as recent as the 1990s, I would say, and touched on topics even more, I would say, a little more recent than that. So I stumbled upon this reading that book, Hic Mulier, or the Man-Woman, and Haer-vic, or the Womanish-Man, in Puritan, which is, disclaimer, hard to read. The S's look like F's, and the language is just different. But this is my attempt at reading this very gender-affirming. Note the language. I will say note the language, because like the language they use is it can be taken as harsh against the transgender community, but I don't take it as harsh, because one, we've heard harsher words, and two, this is written by people who, in response to being attacked by their choice of being free from gender. So this is Hic Mulier, or the Man-Woman, and quickly turn after we'll get into the beginning of Haer-vic. You can check the playlist for the past ones where the language is even worse, and in my bad Puritan language. Yes. Here we go. Hic Mulier. I turned the page. Shoot. Okay. So we begin a little bit from where we left off. We start off at that poetry. No. What makes... Okay, so we start off with a warning to fathers, to husbands and fathers. Or husbands, so? Is it so? That's a side print? That's really tiny. Okay, sorry. Okay. To you, therefore, that are fathers, husbands, or sustainers of these new hermaphrodites, belongs the cure of this impulse. See, I thought I start off well. Jeez, impulse. I gotta zoom it in or something. Jeez, Louise. Well, it zooms in too big. Okay, you're just gonna have to mouse it a bit as I do it. Okay. To you, therefore, that are fathers, husbands, and sustainers of these new hermaphrodites, belongs the cure of this impustum. Puritan. It is you that give fuel to the flames of their wild to their wild indiscretions. So I can read. Just know that I can read, but it's in Puritan and all the letters are so bad. So bear with me. I recommend you read it. Do your search on Google. I don't know if I'm allowed to share it, but like do search on Google for Hic Mulier. I'll leave the spelling, and then like Google it, and then find the PDF, and you could read along and see, and maybe you could read Puritan better than I can. Okay, you add. Okay, to you. So we get it. To you, therefore, are fathers, husbands, or sustainers of these new hermaphrodites, belongs the cure of this imposture. See, I still don't know the word. Okay, it is you that give fuel to the flames of their wild indiscretions. You add this oil, which makes their stinking lamps defile the whole house with filthy smoke, and your purchase these deformities at rates both dear and unreasonable. Okay. Do you but hold close your liberal hands, or take a strict amount of the employment of the creatures you give to the necessary maintenance, and these excesses will either cease or else die smothered in prison in the tailor's trunks for want of redemption. That is a boss line. If you understood what I was saying, like could read it better, I could like say it. It's like saying that like fathers and husbands, because at the time, you know, that's who is allowed to work. So these are the gender that's allowed to like the males have to women get their money from men at the time. If they weren't working, if they weren't blessed enough to find a job, if they were certain like where they were allowed to work, you know. So they're saying that like that fathers and husbands and sustainers of these new hermaphrodites, these gender blenders, belongs to cure. You know, it is you that gives fuel to the flames of their wild indiscretion. See, that's what I meant about the language. Like they calling it like wild indiscretions, but it's like awesome. You know, if you look at it as a gender zucking way, that like, you know, it's going against, you know, especially in a trans radical rationale way, is that like it's going against what the norm is, and that's what like either gender freaking or being just different in society, separating yourself from like the rest, you know, separating yourself from the shape, so that like your true voice can like really shine through. So they're saying that like fathers and husbands and sustainers, you know, add fuel, you know, like that to the stinking lamps, you know, that like defile the whole house, you know, with their filthy smoke, you know. You can look at it as like a rough way, as an insult, but it's written by someone who's gender nonconforming. So look at it as more so as this angsty way to describe one's gender, which is very enlightening. And these excesses will either cease or else die smothered. So they smell smothered, and then there's a diving, so look, smothered in prisons in the tailor's trunks for want of redemption. They'll want redemption. The clothes speak to us. Yeah, that was my line. Okay. Seneca, speaking of liberty, in parentheses, speaking of liberty, will by no means allow that any man should bestow either on friend, wife, or children any treasure to be spent upon ignoble selves? Ignoble lot. Jeez, it's like a VSES, and then the V's look like U's. For it is not excuse me, I'm scared. For it is not only so it is not only so is not onely robs the party of honor. For it is not only robs the party of honor of bounty and takes from the deed the name of a benefit, but also makes him conscious and guilty of the crimes which are purchased by such a gratuity, crimes by association. Be therefore the scholars of Seneca, and your sisters, and your wives, sisters, and daughters will be the co-heirs of modesty. So they want to trap. That's the whole thing. They want to trap, this women, and also shout out to women on International Women's Day. They want to trap women into modesty, that doing anything other than wearing the clothes that you're, being told to wear, like dresses and all that, and gowns. So, trying to keep your modesty, and shout out to international women on International Women's Day, trans women as well, and trans femme, women identifying. Shout out my moms. Okay. That like they want to keep you in a modesty, that like if you're wearing, for a while it was like if you're wearing pants, that's immodest, like showing off your legs, but like really like it helps women run faster, move faster. You can run with the boys now. If you have to wear dresses, but like to protect your modesty, the modesty is like it's what that trap of modesty is what keeps patriarchy is like holding on to women. Is that like you can't do this, you can't do that, even though men do it all the time, and it's to keep you pure, it's to keep you honest, to be seen as such. And but who says that like one, you can't be seen as honest and pure regardless of what you're wearing, and then two, like a lot of these women in society, as in the past, like we mentioned in the past video, a lot of these women in society are very respected. But when it comes time to like, change their garbs to like advance in society, no, they must keep their modesty, Okay. Look, okay, this one they use Latin on this one. Lycurgus, okay. It says, the lawgiver made it to death in one of his statutes to bring any new costume into his commonwealth. Do you make it the utter less of your labor, savor? Okay. Do you make it the utter loss of your savor and bounty to have brought into your family any new fashion or disguise that might either deform nature or be an injury to modesty? So shall shamefulness and comeliness live under your roof, and your wives and daughters like vines and fair olives ever spread with beauty round about your tables. Okay. And the Lacedaemonians, feeling that their children were better taught by examples than precepts, had hanging in their houses in fair painted tables all the virtues and vices that were in those days reigning, with their rewards and punishments. Oh, have you but in your house the fashions of all attires constantly and without change held, still followed through all the parts of Christendom? Let them but see the modest Dutch and stately Italian, the rich Spaniard and the courtly French, with the rest according to their climates, and they will blush that in a full fourth part of the world there cannot be found one piece of character to compare or liken with the absurdity of their masculine invention. Nay, they shall see that their naked countryman, which had liberty with his shares to cut from every nation of the world one piece or patch to make up his garment, yet amongst them they could not find this miscellany or mixture of deformities, which only by those which, whilst they retained any sparkhood of womanhood, were both loved and admired, is loosely, indiscreetly, wantonly, and most unchastely invented. And therefore, to knit up this imperfect declaration, let every female masculine that by her ill example is guilty of lust or imitation, call off her deformities, and eloge herself in the rich garments which the poet bestows upon her in these verse followings. Those virtues that in women merit praise are sober. Zoom in. Are sober. Zoom in. Jeez Louise. Okay. Oh, shoot. Zoom in too much. Okay. Are sober. It doesn't even help. A sober feels without change thoughts within, true faith and due obedience to their mate and of their children. Jeez, bonus care to take. Finny. Okay, so like I did not finish strong at all. That's why I encourage you to read along with this, because this is me reading it like for the first time, and then like, well, really the second time, but really trying to like analyze it as I go along. So the reading's all bad. With like teachers and kids in your classroom read like this, give them time. They're still trying to figure it out. This is, if they can't read or have a hard time reading, like read Puritan, and that's what language looks like to them. So bear with me. It's very humbling actually, because it's like me reading terribly in front. I used to really love reading in class, so like it's really humbling. Reading so badly. Okay, all right. So yeah, this is a little better. Okay. So this is really interesting. Just, if I say it, at least to me, because I'm like reading it as I go, it's like, yeah, like, it's mentioning all these, and I'm not anti-religion, I'm not anti-belief. Believe what you want, as long as it doesn't, conflict with me or try to injure me or anything. And same here too. Yeah, I have my beliefs. What's it called? But yeah, like mentions like several beliefs as an example of like societies where like they had like these the pictures like on the wall to like enforce this that like if you go too far against what society wants you to do, your family structure. I mean, I'm not anti-family either. That gets a lot from the trans community, that this idea that the trans community is anti-family, or like even worse, that the family parties of the political left and political right really, the family values organizations, they don't accept transgender community, when in fact trans community wants families. They want acceptance, they want that same like assimilation, and like will honestly probably be really great parents to like be able to be much more well-rounded, which is the goal, is to be as a parent, right? To be as well-rounded, to impart as much knowledge as you can. Am I wrong? So it's like, that's why I never knock anybody, because their knowledge is the way they were taught and what they learned from their experience. And sometimes someone's knowledge will conflict with my knowledge, but we all deserve to breathe. So, I mean, someone might think I don't deserve to breathe, or trans people don't deserve to breathe, and that happens, reflected in the violent rates, and that's unfortunate. That exists, and I just feel like that is more so the idea that you don't want a group to exist. It's a societal issue. It's a mental health issue, I feel, because society, like if it's functioning, well, it's cooperative, it's unity. But like, throughout this, we can't really have true unity, I guess, because like, this is, cultures, we have a mix of cultures, so we must kind of give like respect to that, But back to Hic Mulier, that was a finish, and I did not finish strong. But yeah, it's like, yeah, this is what they want you to wear. So like, it's like for men, those that are born male, having to wear a suit because this is, and then dress like this and dress like this is how we'll hold you an ideal. And it's not so much that, like, for example, like, this is how, like, it becomes such a class thing, because it's just like, all right, what if you can't afford that suit, that ideal? They mention like the modest Dutch, the stately Italian, the rich Spaniard, or the courtly French. But what if you can't? These are all names: the rich, the stately, the modest, the courtly. But what if that's not in your affordability to afford that modesty? Your clothes have holes in it. Can't be stately with like a disability. You can't be rich if you're poor, and can you be courtly if you're not courtly looking? Everyone's courtly looking, but like if you're not that, what society will say as courtly looking. And they also say like the rest according to their climates, that like if you're modest and you're pure, like you'll see, you see them and blush, because there's no character. But that's not true. We've proven that over society, that there's plenty of character in all walks of life. That's why a lot of when organizations, that's why, like, very like military, like trans-military supportive, because like that's an example where like people come from all parts of the world and show that they have character, that there exists in these parts of the world character. People come together. We have the UN, we have Geneva Convention, we have representatives from everywhere. Anthropologists have been doing this, sociologists, capitalism, and economics have been doing this. That there's character all over the world. Everyone has something. So those are just flawed statements. But like, yeah, back to the question, like, what if you can't afford these, the modesty, the stateliness, the richness, or the courtliness? Can you not, but can you not attain, modesty or purity or oneness, or to be taken care of, as this, this pamphlet, mentions quite a bit, that like, taken care of, but do you want to be taken care of? You want to be independent, and if you can't like afford it in that clothes that you're, if you can't afford that suit, but you can wear a dress and be comfortable, you can wear a dress and like and navigate the world, in that dress, in the best way as possible. That's a better way for you. Then like, why shouldn't that be like, allowed? Because like, I feel like me as an employer, like I'd want like, the best, person working for me, that themselves. So, but if like all these rules of like what does modesty and stateliness and richness and courtliness look like stay enforced, we won't really get to understand the character of those that can't afford it, don't have a chance, which is just not true. I've been places where like that like, yeah, like it's just like they couldn't have this stuff, but it shows up in different ways, and that's what true like sociology is about, is that like is being able to like see that the character that's within like all these different worlds and understand it, and show the world, Trans community has plenty of character, character. You can hate me, but sometimes that hate means that I'm more like you than you realize. You would rather admit it, and then you realize that if you're not so bad, then I'm not so bad. It's really interesting piece. So we'll start fresh because we just finished Hic Mulier and just indecipherable English. But I recommend you read. It was fun for me. I don't care. I'm a nerd. If you're a nerd, maybe you like this. If you're not, then maybe you won't. Or maybe if you're not a nerd, you like it and you just like listening. Or just like, if you are a nerd and don't like it, then it's cool too. So the next one will be, what's this? Express in a. Just know I can read. The letters are all funky. I wish I could show you, but I just don't feel like doing that much editing. And that's why I say just look at it. They express in a brief dialogue between Hic Mulier, the Womanish-Man, and Hic Mulier, the Man-Woman.